All right, today the movie is Cool Runnings, released on October 1st, 1993. Welcome to Brandon at Random Reviews, covering one unsystematically chosen topic at a time. Directed by John Turteltaub. For the cast, we have the late great John Candy as Coach Irv Blitzer, Leon as Darius Bannock, Doug E. Doug as Sanka Coffee, Raul D. Lewis as Junior Bevel, and Malik Yoba as Yul Brenner. That character is not to be confused with real-life Russian actor Yul Brynner from the 1973 movie Westworld. For the plot synopsis, when a Jamaican sprinter is disqualified from the Olympic Games, he enlists the help of a dishonored coach to start the first Jamaican bobsled team and compete in the 1988 Winter Olympics, based very loosely on a true story. They say this movie is like 95% fictional. Alright guys, let's just dive right into this gosh darn movie. So this is another revisit that I only saw once in my childhood and I barely remember at all. And so the only thing I remember from this movie is them chanting, "Jamaica, we have a bobsled team." For those who are unfamiliar, bobsledding, aka bobsleighing competition, is a winter sport played in singles or in teams of 2 or 4 people, where the teammates must push a 600-pound sleigh and then get inside it and use only gravity and momentum to reach the end of a narrow, ice-covered concrete half-pipe track, which is typically 1,200 to 1,300 meters long and contains at least 15 curves. On these tracks, bobsleds have been known to reach speeds of over 75 miles per hour. So as I mentioned, this movie starts off with our main character, Darius, getting disqualified from a 100-meter race that he has trained diligently for, and that kind of makes it sound like they caught him juicing or something, but in reality it's much more annoying than that. Mid-race, and this is just a sprint foot race, one of Darius's competitors trips and falls in front of him and ultimately causes Darius and one other competitor to also fall in the short sprint, and ultimately Darius has to watch someone else win the race instead of him. So the big thing with this movie is that Darius is desperate to be a champion, and he's denied when he requests to redo the race, and so then he is somehow convinced by someone that he speaks with to pursue participating in putting together a Jamaican bobsled team, despite not having any familiarity with the sport, and the fact that he only has 3 months to prepare to participate in the Winter Games with people that clearly have a lot more experience than that. As I mentioned, all-time great comedy actor John Candy is in this movie as Irv Blitzer, the reluctant coach of the novice team. Irv is an exceptional bobsled coach, but was disqualified for cheating in the 1972 Winter Olympics. Candy unfortunately passed away from a heart attack in 1994 after he finished shooting his role in the Western comedy Wagons East, which was released 5 months after his death. Candy was well known for his roles in Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, The Great Outdoors, and many others, including a small role in the 1990 film Home Alone, which he was reportedly only paid $414 to appear in, and he also improvised almost all of his dialogue in the movie. As you might imagine, Cool Runnings largely tells the story of how Darius recruits his friend Sanka, who is a local pushcart derby champion, and because of limited options and the requirement of having 4 sledders for their team, he also enlists Junior and Yule. Junior is actually the runner who fell in the race and caused Darius to lose and get disqualified. Yule is the other runner aside from Darius who was also tripped up by Junior. Of course, none of these 3 disqualified runners are particularly thrilled to team up with Junior, but do so out of necessity and a similar drive to compete. The team struggles to get funding to enter the Olympics, and Junior is forced to sell his car to raise the necessary $20,000 fee. The men are met with a great deal of skepticism, ridicule, and mockery from the teams of other countries when they arrive in Calgary, which is in Alberta, Canada, the site of the 1988 Winter Olympics. One of the more notable criticisms from the other teams is of Coach Irv Blitzer and his reputation for having cheated in the 70s. Naturally, the 4 Jamaicans struggle to adapt to the frigid climate in Canada, in addition to them already having enough trouble getting along with each other and working as a team and just getting into the rhythm of bobsledding, which they're not super in tune with. Because there are so many changes and omissions from the real life story that they are telling here, I feel compelled to mention that this movie leaves out the fact that the real team was initially denied participation in the competition because of late entry, and they were only really allowed to compete after appeals happened. The movie also downplays some major incidents and timing in their runs, and it also makes them out to be like big contenders in this competition for winning a medal despite finishing 24th, 25th, and 26th in their three runs in a competition that only had 26 teams. All right, on to ratings. IMDb 7.0, Letterboxd 3.5, Rotten Tomato Critics score 76%, Rotten Tomato Audience score 81%. Personal rating 3.5 out of 5 stars. Cool Runnings held up pretty well for me, and it was still a pretty entertaining movie despite the fact that some of it's just not true. I don't really care that much. While it does very little to adhere to the reality of the historical events it portrays, those choices allow it to deliver a more inspiring underdog story with likable characters and scenes. I still like it. It's very fun. So I would say check it out. Don't get your hopes too high about how great it'll be, but it's a fun watch. All right, everyone. Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.